Subnautica is an underwater exploration and survival game based on an alien world known as 4546b. In Below Zero, you play as Robin, who goes to 4546b in search of her sister, Sam, and what she uncovers during her search is far beyond her expectations. After a crash landing on the planet's icy surface, Robin is far from helpless. With the resources at her disposal, she is able to create tools from the natural elements found all around, going so far as to create complicated bases and vehicles from things as simple as plants and raw minerals. The plot features two main threads, one being the story of an advanced race of aliens that were on the planet ages ago, and what they were doing on the planet in the first place. The other thread features a human faction operating in the area, known as Altera, and figuring out why Altera suddenly abandoned 4546b. This game has plenty of positives to it, so let's dive right in. The scenery. This game has so much to explore. Each biome is beautiful in its own way, and there's so much to discover in every single nook and cranny. Your adventure begins on an iceberg in the middle of an ocean. When you depart from the iceberg, you'll find yourself at the Twisty Bridges, featuring bioluminescent creatures and mysterious bridge-like structures. Before long, you'll find yourself visually immersed in a fantastic underwater ecosystem. Immersion. Below Zero is all about exploring an alien world, and the details of that alien world are strikingly clever. You can find all sorts of interesting flora and fauna, from the cute little ice peeper swimming around looking for food, to the amazing ribbon plant, which developed an acidic core to fend off critters like the ice peeper. If you push your limits to find out what's lurking in the depths, you're sure to find surprises of all shapes and sizes. You may find a new material for an upgrade, or some sort of dangerous beast. You may even find some ruins that hold insight into what happened on 4546b before you landed. Customization. Every survival game tries its best to give you the ability to customize your base or your tools, and Below Zero does this exceptionally well. Once you've found a place to plant your first base, you can give it a little personal touch by making it a pretty color and, if you like, putting a little motivational poster up. These cute details serve well to mute the industrial feel of your base and allow you to express your personality. If you're not into feng shuiing your base, the design options give you a chance to optimize material storage and make sure you get the most out of your time while crafting. Since I played the early access version of this game, it would be unfair of me to judge it based on any bugs that I encountered. That being said, this game still does have potentially negative aspects to it, so let's get to the bottom of them. Farming. Farming for resources can sometimes be difficult and unintuitive. I had trouble with one resource in particular. It was a plant clipping, but the plant could only be found in two very specific places. Because of this, I ended up wandering around aimlessly for a couple of hours before I finally gave up and looked up a guide on where I could find it. I can easily see how this can be frustrating and a potential turnoff for some would-be players. Pacing. The pacing is a little bit slow, and in today's day and age of 1-minute videos and 10-minute TV shows, it can be hard to appreciate long-form content. Below Zero features very in-depth gameplay that requires intense focus. It can be disheartening to spend 15 minutes going in one direction to get something, and then taking another 15 minutes to go all the way back, only to realize you forgot something and have to make another round trip. It takes a certain level of patience to be able to play this game. Abstract objectives. The story can be disjointed. Throughout the game, you're given markers on your map to guide you to your next objective, at least most of the time. So, when you're given a more abstract objective, like go really deep in the water, it can be difficult to know exactly what that means, since there isn't a little arrow pointing you in the right direction. On the one hand, this is meant to promote immersion and exploration, but on the other hand, it's sometimes upsetting to stop what you're doing and research the game's lore just to find out where your next objective is. There's something that I want to say about the first Subnautica game, but you know what? I'm about to say it. The first game was great, but it always felt a little awkward even after its final release. Don't get me wrong, the game is great, but Subnautica felt like it never really broke out of beta phase. The landscape is beautiful, the story is intriguing, but everything kind of seems like it's patchworked together. The game devs even went so far as to explain that the game was in a very awkward phase when it was discovered by big creators like the legendary Jacksepticeye, and they were given another chance to revive their passion project. I bring this up because Below Zero doesn't have that patchwork feeling to it at all. The game still has the same level of charm and cleverness to it, but it's a lot more fleshed out. That being said, Below Zero has a lot of things that distinguish it from Subnautica. For example, the vehicle choices are a little bit different, but they maintain that same level of feature and functionality, so while I might miss my old reliable picks from the first game, I've come to appreciate what I've got in their place. One thing that stayed mostly the same are the resources. It makes things a lot easier when you have a previous knowledge of where to find certain materials, so in that regard, you'll have an advantage if you've played Subnautica before. For my final comparison, there's a lot more land travel in Below Zero, and the mechanics have been tweaked to make the experience a lot smoother. I know that even in the final release of Subnautica, there were issues when it came to moving across dry land, and in this game I feel like they really did make the experience much smoother, more interesting, and reasonably challenging. Alright, real quick, I'll explain my rating system. I rate on a 1 to 5 star scale, just to keep things decisive. People using a 10-point system tend to only use the last few digits anyway. Furthermore, I'll be avoiding any half-star ratings from here forth, just to make things spicy. A 1-star game is the bottom of the barrel, just unplayable and uninteresting. A 3-star game is a net neutral. It has many positives to it, but it'll have just as many negatives, making it a game that's just not for everyone. And a 5-star game is one that has a little something for everybody. It may have 1 or 2 negatives, but it should have an overwhelming amount of positive, something that everybody can enjoy. To sum up my review of Below Zero, I would recommend this game to someone who likes exploring beautiful worlds, who likes crafting and survival type games, or someone who likes immersive storytelling. I would not recommend this game to someone who has thalassophobia or gets frightened easily, gets frustrated when gathering materials, aka grinding, dislikes games that are slow paced, or someone who dislikes non-linear storytelling. So, what would I rate Below Zero with all of these things in consideration? I would rate it a very solid 4 stars. Below Zero is likely to be enjoyed by most people, and it's a very good sequel to Subnautica. It has very few setbacks for being a survival crafting game, so whether you've played Subnautica before or this is your first time on 4546B, you'll be sure to have an adventure. Before I sign off, I have a few general tips and tricks for those of you who are